yeah. Jesus Christ, Tom. Is my thing crooked? My new plate is someone who has a septum piercing. Hey, hoodies, welcome. Hold on, we need to get the thumbs back in the holes. Hey, hoodies, welcome back to my channel. My name is hautemesstom, and thank you so much for clicking on today's video. Today is the after sass. There was a video that came out between this and my critical sass. If you happen to be new here, critical sass is where I talk about new makeup releases and I try to talk you out of them. And then the after sass is where I put words into practice and I look at my makeup collection and I reflect on the things I talked about in Critical Sass, and I talk about how I don't need those things by using what I have in my collection, and I encourage you to do the same. If there's anything that you have been interested in makeup-wise of purchasing, play with your makeup collection first, see if you already have it, and try to really be discerning about whether or not that would be a good purchase for you. Sometimes it is a good purchase, sometimes you do this activity and you find out that, like, yes, you think you'll get a lot of use out of it, and so that you can make that purchase knowing that you've done the most before you made the purchase, instead of making the purchase and regretting it. A lot of what we talked about in Critical Sass were eyeshadows. There was like a couple other things that we talked about, but I'm just like looking at the list of stuff. It was eyeshadows and blushes. So I don't really have like enough to do, and a candle. We talked about a candle. I don't have enough after sass to do like a whole thing, but I also have some new stuff. So it's kind of like a let's play with makeup plus new stuff. Now, Refer was kind enough to send me some PR. They were like, can we send you stuff? And then they let me pick from this large list. I didn't want to be selfish and choose everything, but I chose almost everything. So I have some new brushes to play with. So I'm not sure what, this looks like a bronzer. I'm not sure what these are used for. So I'll be using them how I use them, but potentially maybe not how the brand envisions me using them. I'll also probably be using some of my old brushes too, but we're gonna start with Complexion, just kind of get things rolling. This tickle in my throat just won't go away. I'm gonna be priming my face with the Victoria. It's the primer that will never end. I'm not gonna keep playing with my Sisley powder until this is done, because that needs a whole focus. A lot's happened. Has it? I feel like so much has happened recently where I just am like, who knows what and who knows what and who knows, you know what I mean? Like, that's how I'm feeling. I think that also has to do with like my work. My real work was a little bit weird last week, and it was really busy this morning as I record. This is the Makeup Forever like green color correcting primer. I'm just putting on my neck. You may remember this if you've been here for a while. Many videos ago, I talked about how I get pretty bad razor burn on my neck, and many of you had suggested me trying, it's not like a straight razor, but it's like kind of like an old school razor, like a single blade razor. Can the green please go away? Just work it into the hands. That's fine. It's like lotion. I bought one of those razors from Henson. I've only done 2 shaves so far, and I still think my skin is clearing up, but I do think it's going well. So thank you for all of the people who recommended that to me, and then also were like, you can handle it, you're not going to cut yourself. I've not cut myself yet, but I also feel like I'm not getting a close enough shave yet either, but I'm attributing that to the fact that I don't really know what I'm doing. So for concealer and foundation today, I'm going to be using the Givenchy Prisme Libre Skin Caring Concealer, just because I wore it as a foundation the other day and it looked really good. It looks really good as a foundation. It's not my favorite concealer, and not in a bad way. I'm saying it because I know so many people really love it, but like, I think I really like my Surratt ones better. But I do think I like this better than the Armani Luminous Silk one, which I was using before. I don't believe that any of the brushes that I was gifted from Refer are foundation brushes, so I'm just going to use my usual, which is the Sonia G. What's this called? Jumbo Base. I went to dinner with my friend who was supposed to be at my surprise party, and then her dad surprised her by just like showing up in town one weekend. I mean, he gave her some notice, but like she couldn't come because of that. So we went out to dinner to like see each other. We hadn't seen each other, and that was really nice. But we went to this place. If you're in Pittsburgh, it's called Noodlehead. And it's like, it's weird because it's like one best restaurant, but it's not like one of our fancy restaurants. It used to be. I don't think it still would be considered this, but it used to be considered one of those places where like people who know good food in the city, it was like this secret place that people knew. Or if you went to one of the colleges, you knew that it was there and you knew that it was good, because it's like near like a lot of the campuses, like Pitt, CMU, and what's the other one? Chatham, are all like right by this place. But it's like not fancy. It's like this cash only Thai place. There's like 9 things on the menu. It's not one of those places where you go there and you're gonna be there for a really long time. I like to have a dining experience that like I could be there for 4 hours and continue to talk and continue to drink with my friends. That's not what they do there. That's like not their jam. Anyway, I got Kemal and I got it at a medium, like the medium spice. And I was really proud of myself because I'm not always the best at handling spicy things, but their spice level I think is like pretty good. you know, I feel like I can handle it. I left my house, I got all dressed up, and I did it. And like an hour later, I was done with dinner. And then my friend who I went out to dinner with is like a very busy person. She just is a busy person. So she doesn't always have time to like linger. Whereas like I'm your friend whenever I hang out with you. Like I'll probably hang out with you like for a really long time if you will accept that. Now I don't always love to do that. So I was like, I'm already out. And I was like, I'm going to go get a drink because the restaurant is really close to this gay bar that I used to frequent a lot. And I had a lot of realizations whenever I went to this bar. We're going to talk about queer identity stuff, so buckle in, sisses. Gonna do great. I know I believe in you. When I thought of myself as a gay man, I used to like go to this bar like all the time. And then I was like, I could go get a drink by myself at the bar. It wasn't bar time yet, you know, it wasn't like 10, right? So it wasn't like, it was 8 o'clock. So I was like, it's not gonna be busy. So I literally got so nervous to go to this bar that I walked past it. I don't know how many like gay men watch my channel, but I know a lot of you are non-binary people, or there are a lot of you that have sounded off. Not that, you know, your non-binary experience is the same as mine. But here's what I will say. I certainly don't feel like the same comfortability in in that space now that I did. And that's not that no one made me uncomfortable when I was there. It was just kind of like this feeling where I was like, I feel like this isn't the same. I'm putting some Auric Glow Lust on. I've been applying it with a brush. I don't know. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. Is it the wrong thing to do? I don't think that could be a thing. But I'm just gonna go like put that all over the cheek. Give myself a little bit of gloss, a little bit of additional coverage. Something I actually really like about the Glow Lust, it has like a little bit of coverage to it. The redness in my cheeks is always like right where highlighter goes. And like, I kind of hate that because as we all know, highlighter typically draws attention to things. So it'll draw attention to the fact that I have like redness there. Beautiful, stunning, gorgeous, amazing. Do any of you follow Neo It Girl? The fact that I don't know her like real name is pretty upsetting. This looks like it could be a blush brush, but I'm gonna use it as a powder brush because it kind of reminds me of this one, but a little bit bigger. So this is the Sonia G Designer Pro brush, and I use this for powdering my under eyes. And I feel like they're both that kind of flat. This is just like a lot bigger. I imagine that this is probably a blush brush, but let's just use it as a powder brush today, just for the sake of trying it. So I just opened these. I'm gonna say this as a word of caution. Like, you as a regular person, you should wash your brushes before you use them, okay? You should do that. Do as I say, not as I do. As I'm powdering my face, I don't really like it for doing what I'm doing with it, but that's not, I think I would like it for blush, but I'm using a liquid blush today. I already fucked up, you know? It's fine. I'm gonna go in with the blush before I finish powdering the rest of my face with something else. This is the Pillow Talk blush, matte blush one from Charlotte Tilbury. I can't believe Kackie has turned me into a monster. Kackie has turned me into a monster. I would have never have bought this had Kackie not talked about it so much, but it is really pretty. It's a really nice product. It's just like this color is like really kind of what dreams are made of. I don't know. It's like pink, but not quite pink. Like, I mean, it is pink, but then it's also like, what kind of pink? I'm not gonna apologize for liking it, but I want you to know that I don't like this about me. I don't love that I really like this. Oh, and the formula is really nice. It has that stupid sponge tip applicator, which like I don't love as a vehicle for any kind of makeup. What has happened? What is the tectonic shift that happened with me and Charlotte Tilbury in like the last month? With the Beautyverse palette and now this. I was like the lone soldier saluting, being like, I like the Beautyverse. I mean, I don't think it was good enough that everyone needs to run out and buy it, but I do think there are people who would see that value in it when I was talking about it. I have another new product to talk about. I haven't forgotten that we're talking about the gay bar, by the way. I'm coming back to that. Kackie. I think everyone should be best friends with Kackie. Not that she should have to take that on, but also don't become best friends with Kackie or this happens. I will tell you why I bought it though. This is almost out. This is almost out of, not almost, but I have some travel coming up and I'm going to use that for traveling instead of hauling this around. I'm going to use the same brush that I use under my eyes. I don't know that's going to be like the best powder brush just considering how small it is, but It's going to allow me to be a little more accurate. I really like this powder. I think I'm finding that my want to fuss with a loose powder has diminished a lot since my baking days, where I'm like, this feels just like annoying. And for some reason, I really feel like I'm like running through it. Although that's anytime I get a product, I'm running through it. And like 3 years later, I'm like, okay, maybe I was being a little bit dramatic and I wasn't running through it. This is a really beautiful powder. If they make one that you think will work for you, it could be worth a try in the long run. You don't need to buy it right now. Today, as I'm recording, it's the last day of the Sephora sale. I don't think it's like something that anyone needs to like make their priority, but like I really like it. I'm definitely absolutely gonna knock it over while it's open at some point, and I don't really want that to happen. I'm going to bronze with the Gucci bronzer. I'm trying to keep it cooler on the face, although I'm mystified by what color this is. Like, is it warm? Is it cool? I haven't really figured that out. It's like I don't know. It's like, I feel like it looks gray when I put it on, and then I feel like if I wear cool tones with it, it looks too warm, and if I wear warm tones with it, I feel like it's not warm enough. So I figured it out. So I am going to be using, this is what I'm trying to show you, the Rephr 22 brush. So and I'm wondering if I picked this one because I think it is the dupe, supposed to be the dupe for the Tom Ford bronzer brush. But I have this. This is the Sonia G Jumbo bronzer. Now, this I just pulled out of the package, so it might start flaring out like that with use. The bristles are really soft. Maybe a little more firm than the Sonia G. Like, this is like a little more densely packed. So I have a feeling that I'm gonna get a little more pigment with this than I typically do. I'm just gonna go in. What I will say is, and these are surprisingly weighty. And what I mean by that is like, this feels like a little bit heavier than the Sonia G, which when it comes to my brushes, it's just like weird. It's like I don't know. It's just something to know. Okay, I'm gonna apply my bronzer. I'm gonna finish my bronzer. Let's go back to the liquid blush because that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about in the AFTERSASS. There's a lot going on. My brain's like, we're doing 7 types of videos right now. Get it together. 2 things. I don't like the length of the handle on this. There's something more ergonomic about the Sonia G one to me. Like, it's longer. I don't know if it's contoured like this to be easier, but it felt awkward like using this. And I understand because it's not my usual brush, but like it felt just a little bit awkward to use. I don't know how else to describe it, but it like applied product beautifully. It blended it really pretty out. But yeah, like there's something like there's like, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. The first one I didn't feel that weird using, but now I'm kind of clocking that their handles are like short. Like their ferrule starts so far down the handle. I wonder what that's about. That's really interesting. This is one of the things I picked out for the AFTERSASS. So in my critical sass, I talked about the Carolina Herrera liquid blushes. Now, I was kind of talking about it at the very tail end, and I didn't think it was something that many of you would be interested in. And I turned out to be correct. Like a lot of you were just like, okay, whatever about that. But in the order of walking the walk a little bit, I was kind of intrigued by them because I was like, that's kind of interesting. I didn't know Carolina Herrera made makeup. But I have a couple liquid blushes. Liquid blushes are not high on my list of things to try. I feel like liquid blushes are for very specific people. Like I would never like recommend to someone who's new to makeup to like start with like liquid blushes because sometimes they can be really hard to blend out. But I have a couple that I really like, and this is one of them. And there's no way that this Carolina Herrera one's gonna be better than this or my Surratt ones. So I think I'm good when it comes to like liquid blushes, and I don't think I would want many more than the 3 that I have. And I really like the 3 that I have. And I also felt like the Carolina Herrera ones weren't very nuanced. Like I wouldn't, if this color didn't exist in this shade range, I wouldn't have purchased this, but I find that this color is a very unique, it's like interesting because when you look at it, it doesn't feel very unique, but whenever I like compare it to all of my other pink blushes, it's like what kind of pink are you? Like what kind of pink are you? I haven't put makeup on camera in quite a bit since before I was in Philly, so I'm very rusty. That's why I chose that for today's video. And then literally the next thing I have to talk about in the AFTERSASS is the eyeshadow, which we're not there yet. This is a great foundation. I know that Kackie has already tried the foundation. I don't know that I would like it as much as I like this as a foundation. Can we just like talk about it? Because it's my video, we're gonna talk about it. I think this is a really good concealer. I like it better as a foundation. I like it better all over. I've just found that I enjoy using it more all over the face. I don't think it's bad under my eye, and I do typically use it as like a concealer. Like, you know, it's my one complexion product typically when I'm using it. I guess I don't really find it, not that everyone's looking for brightening, and I like my concealer to be the right shade, like to be the matching shade for me, but have like just some components to it that make it feel a little bit brightening. And I just don't think this does that. But I feel like on the rest of my face, it gives me like this really beautiful, like ethereal kind of glowing look. And I just feel like under my eyes, it just doesn't do that. And I couldn't tell you why. I could tell you that's why my experience with it is what it is. But having tried the Surratt ones, I think the Surratt ones are like a more elegant and interesting concealer formula. And I'm not always into full coverage, but I really like those Surratt concealers because they are like very high concentrated coverage, but in a very easy to use formula, because I find that like they're very thin formula, and they blend out really easy. But I've found with other high coverage formulas that they tend to be like really thick, and that's where the problems come in. They're like hard to blend out unless you're using like a sponge, which I'm not into using a sponge, surely because I just forget to dampen one. Every time I dampen it, I'm cleaning it, and then it's just like, ugh, who wants to do all that? So I think we're about to start working on the eyes. Now, I did want to report back. These are the Victoria Beckham eyewears. Now, I was a little indifferent to them the last time I used them on camera, like when I got back from Philly. I have really come around to these. I think they're really, really good. So I don't need to put like an eyeshadow base down. They will hold up on my oily eyelids all day, and I get like no creasing and like nothing. What happened was, because you remember how I talked about how it looked a little bit patchy. I've learned that I have to apply more when I'm putting it all over my lids than I think I do for it to spread out. What was happening was like, it was just not blending anymore because it was kind of like running out of product, but I haven't had that issue since. Kackie's fault too. I didn't buy these though. Kackie bought them. This is Kackie's fault. I didn't do this to myself. I didn't listen to Kackie. Kackie was just like, you will be trying these, and I really like them. Like today I'm using an eyeshadow palette, and I haven't used an eyeshadow palette. Well, I haven't really been using like eyeshadow palettes like as a concept for a while now, but like I haven't been using the powder eyeshadows in a while because I've been using these, and then I've just been throwing a single shadow on top. And I have purchased, if you're following along with any great interest, a bunch of purple eyeshadows. We're starting that, you know, so I have some purple shadows going on. And I also bought this. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I bought this. This is just for me. This was my birthday present to myself, was the Chantecaille Zebra. So I've been wearing that a lot too. But today, we're gonna use a regular eyeshadow palette. I'm gonna prep my eyes, and we'll just cut to the eyeshadow and talk more about it. But I'll be using the NARS smudge proof eyeshadow base, and then setting it with the end of this Pat McGrath powder. Like, this Pat McGrath powder is like, it's almost done. I'm getting back to the gay bar. For all those of you checked out and were here for the gay bar, I like went in. The way that this bar is set up is like there's 3 bars in the bar. Now, when I say 3 bars in the bar, I just mean 3 places to order drinks at inside the bar. Because we also have some bars here where it's like you go in the bar and then there's multiple bars, meaning a bunch of different concept bars inside of one bar. I went to the 3rd bar, which you have to walk past 2, you know, 1, 2, 3, you know how to count? Maybe. He might not. I mean, I live with someone who doesn't really know how to count. It's a child. He knows that 2 comes after 1, but I don't think he really understands what that means. Like, I don't think there's a firm grasp on it, but if you say 1, he goes, 2. So the 3rd bar was pretty empty because it's a bar that's like half in, half out. It wasn't so cold on Saturday, so I sat on the outside portion, but they did have like heaters going, and that was pretty nice. But there was like no one really working that bar, and so it took a while for me to get a drink. And I was like getting anxious at the idea of someone coming to serve me alcohol at the gay bar, and I was like, maybe I should just go home. Maybe like I've made a mistake. I'll come back to that story. So in my critical sauce, I talked about a couple of eyeshadow palettes, many, but the ones that I would say I'm the most interested in were the one from Byredo, the Xenon palette. Now, the Xenon palette, I don't think I ever would have actually pulled the trigger on because I have the palette that I'm about to show you. And then the Byredo one has a lot of colors in it that I like, so like grays, blacks. Now, it definitely has like a couple browns in it. It's like some cool toned browns, and then it has like this mustardy yellow in it. And when I thought of a palette to use to kind of like emulate this, I have the Aim Higher palette from LH Cosmetics, so that's what I'll be using today while I'm building my eyeshadow look. So it's gonna be like a look that might be somewhere in between these two, like the Xenon and the Byredo palette. Like, I'm not really inspired exactly by either of them, but like I'm like into this kind of gray tone, cool tone thing. And there are a couple shades in here that I haven't used yet, and I might pull out a mustard to put on my lid. Like, that might be the ultimately like where we head. I'm gonna start building a look. I'm gonna be using these Refer brushes. I will report back on how I feel the brushes are doing at the end, unless if I need to show you something while I'm applying the makeup, because I'm telling us I'm a storyteller. I'm a storyteller. When I put this in my hand, it felt weird immediately. It's a brush, it's a new brush, which, you know, kind of makes sense. So I pull out my Wayne Goss brush because these are what I typically use. And it also has like a similar tapering where it kind of gets thinner at the end, like my Sonia G brushes. It just feels like chunky. If you have dexterity issues, this like chunkiness might be good for you, but I'm just a little bit perplexed. It feels weird in my hand. Okay, anyway, finally a bartender shows up, and it wasn't like I was in a rush, and like I knew that the bartender must have come at least a couple of times because there were people had drinks up there and they were drinking, they were sitting at the bar. But also, you know, it's very possible that they could have gotten their drinks at the other bar and just like come up there. But like, you know, once it gets going, they normally have all three bars in the bar going. So I was just kind of like, well, at some point someone will come. But I like was really getting anxious. In fact, I texted Cam. I was like, me feeling weird and ostracized at the gay bar, even though like no one was really ostracizing me. It was just like I was like feeling that way. Finally, I got a drink, and then I was like, I'm certainly leaving after this one drink because my anxiety is like so high. I don't really know where all of this was like really stemming from, but it was just like interesting. It was just like an interesting thing to be like in a space where I used to feel so safe to like really, you know, to quote Lucy LaDuca, let loose, and then just to feel so incredibly uncomfortable there. Like, and I would go there by myself. Like, I wasn't going with a gaggle or a gang. Like, sometimes I would go with a gaggle or a gang, but like, often I was just like going there to drink by myself whenever I was like in my mid 20s, and I was just like, I don't understand how I used to do that. This was the number 15 brush. I'm finding that they're like, and it might just because it's my first time using them, but like, they seem very densely packed compared to what I'm used to. Now, maybe this wasn't the best for like soft blending. It just might be the wrong shape, but it like kind of looks like what I usually use. You know, it's a little more pointy, but this one obviously I've used many times over times, but like whenever I first got it, it was shaped kind of like this. So maybe, but it just feels like it's blending really well. It's like kind of the feeling of it that I'm not sure about. But like I feel like I got a good gradient going. You know, it doesn't look bad. I was like literally wrapping up my drink, sitting by myself texting people while I was drinking at the bar, which I'm not saying is a sad thing to do. It just was like I was like, I don't understand how I found myself here today. And then these two women pulled up to me, and you may recall, I don't feel safe unless unless there are lesbians involved. And these two women pull up next to me, and the one like was right next to me, and she looked at me and she was like, I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm right up in your personal space. And I was like, literally, it's totally fine. And then we sparked up a conversation, and we were just like talking, and they were very welcoming. We had a buttery nipple, you know, to to get the juices flowing. And then while I was there, Tiffany's cousin, who's a gay person, gay man, popped up with a group of people, and so I got to talk to him for a little bit, and then I felt like comfortable enough. I had a second drink. I knew I was gonna be done after the second drink though, you know. And then I looked across the bar, and then there was like these, you know, women who were like maybe in their late 40s, early 50s. They were like making out at the bar, and I said, I was meant to be here today. Everything worked out. I was supposed to be at the bar. I was supposed to be there. I felt it. I felt it in my bones after those people started making out, and I was like, I'm glad I came. And I'm happy to have met Jill. And the person who was sitting next to me, I like forget her name. I think it was Kate, but I remember Jill. And I think only because Jill's name was introduced to me second. And then I told them that they should subscribe to the channel. So if either one of you is watching, drop a comment, say hello, because we were talking about so many things. But it was really nice. We all talked about like our queer experience, and like it was interesting to have that conversation because they were a little bit older than I am, and you know, they had come out later in life than I did. Sorry, to come back to the brushes again, I'm feeling similarly about this one because I have a brush that's kind of similarly shaped to this, and it just feels like it's not. I'm gonna use one of my Wayne Goss brushes to just like buff out the edges. And again, it might just be a matter of that that's not those brushes are designed to do, and I'm trying to do something with them that they weren't designed to do. But these brushes are all like a lot smaller than the brushes that I typically use, which is great, especially if you have hooded eyelids. Like some of these could be a great option for you. I'm looking at them and I'm like, I see something I can do some like detail work with. I'm about to use a shimmer shade and I'm gonna put it on the outer portion of my lid. I'm not gonna use the rougher brushes for this because I typically like to use a synthetic brush for shimmers if I'm pinpointing where the shimmer is going. So I'm gonna pull out something. I'm gonna take, I haven't used this shade yet. I'm gonna put this in the outer corner, this like grungy taupey shade, which I feel like is something I could find in both of the palettes I talked about. And I'm just gonna keep it on the outer portion of the lid, right here. And then what was so funny is I took an Uber home, mostly because I didn't want to wait for the bus. The public transportation system in Pittsburgh is like really not great. Also, this shade is really pretty. Of course it is, it's taupe. Of course it is, it's taupe. Of course I like it. I get into the car and I start talking to the Uber driver. He's like a relatively new to Uber. I mean, I took some Ubers in Philadelphia, but I haven't taken an Uber by myself in like a really long time. So I have a couple options for mustards here. So this one is from Noctex. It's called Gas Lamp. I have this one from Natasha Denona. I think I'm gonna use the one from Natasha Denona because the Noctex one is deep, and I feel like the one that was in the Byredo palette was not deep, but like not as deep as that. And we were talking, and he happened to work in the same industry that I did at a different, like not the same company, but just the same industry I work in, like his full-time job. I work in like a unique enough industry where it's like a lot of people, when I describe what I do, have like no concept of what I do. And so we were talking about work, and it was like actually very nice to talk to someone who wasn't a coworker, like in real life, about what I do, because we were really laughing because it was like, what are the odds that we ended up like that was how the evening worked out. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like this combination of like mustard and gray, but I really like it. I really like it. It has me thinking about that Byredo palette a little more seriously. I'm also gonna go back in to this yellow shade that isn't really yellow and mostly pulls blue. It's like kind of like a duochrome, and just kind of very lightly dust it in the center, in the inner corner. That's a cute little look, right? Like a cute little look. It's kind of interesting having only shimmer on the outside. I kind of like it. Like, I mean, I definitely like built it up with mattes first. I'm gonna try to not overdo it because I think my gut is like, that looks a little bit weird because it's not what you usually do, but I kind of like it. I kind of like it too. Saturday night was pretty great, even though it was like the ebbs and flow and the spiking anxiety of it all was like pretty interesting. Like, I don't really view myself as an anxious person, but I think there are things that I like, you know, sometimes get very anxious about. And it was weird how like in that moment I was like, going to the queer bar is weird for me. I talked about this before on my channel, but like there's something about capital G, capital M gay men and being like gender non-conforming, or anyone who isn't capital G, capital M gay man in the LGBTQIA umbrella, where you just kind of like feel othered by them. And I'm not saying that all gay men, capital G, capital M, are like problems, but like I refer to the type of gay men who are like a little bit less accepting as that. You know, capital G, capital capital G, capital M. Not gonna spray as much as I usually do because I kind of like the way everything's looking. I think the reason my anxiety was spiking was because it was just like, I was like going to the bar alone the way I am. I don't know. It's so strange because I definitely have been there since I've been like out as non-binary, but I've always been there with other people. It just was like a whole different experience going by myself. And like, I also like haven't been to like a bar like that in Pittsburgh because, you know, I was just in Philly and I was like doing things I don't usually do when I was in Philly. But like I haven't gone out to like drink in quite some time in Pittsburgh, just like to drink, you know? So I think I was just like a little overwhelmed by like going out by myself. I was like pretty anxious about it. But it got me thinking, which you know, normally happens whenever I start feeling anxious. I'm like, and why? My lashes look whack on this side. I must have slept on them weird. Like the mascara is like doing her best, but ooh, I'm gonna have to mow the lawn after this. I keep thinking that it's gonna be the last time I mow the lawn every time I mow the lawn. Like the last time I have to mow the lawn in the wintertime. I'm really bad at maintaining the lawn. It's bad, it's, you know, it is what it is. I am gonna wear a Royal Scandal, which I haven't worn in quite some time. But when I was doing all of the gray, I was like, a Royal Scandal. One of you let me know that you found a Royal Scandal online. I wonder where you found it. It's been harder to find to link to. And I'd be really disappointed if this was a shade I could no longer buy. But I myself have not worn this shade in a bit of time. I don't know if this blush goes with this eye look, but I like really like this. This is sexy. I was just curious how these colors would go together. They're really cool. I like this. I don't know. I'm into it. I'm saying that like unconfidently, but like I really do like it, but it's just like it's very different. It's like feeling very different from me. And I think it's because I don't have sparkle like all over my eyelids. Like I'm so accustomed to having so much shine on my lids. And like I definitely have a little bit with like the two, like this shade on the outside, but it's like it's a little it's just so different for me. It's so different. I'm scared of straight men just as much as I'm scared of gay men. More so. More so. To reflect. I like this color story. And it does have me thinking maybe I would like that Byredo palette. I do want to try that formula. It doesn't have to happen right now. It didn't say that that palette was limited edition, so I'm in no rush to get it. Also, like, I like this. I want to wear this eyeshadow look not to mow my lawn. The Givenchy powder is very pretty, but if you have a powder you already like, I don't think that this is going to change your mind so much, like, and revolutionize the way you do your makeup. If you happen to need a powder and you are willing to spend $59 on it, I think it's good. But I have other powders that cost less money that I also enjoy a lot. The rougher brushes, I don't know. It's to be determined on the rougher brushes. I'll just play with them more. So far, I'm like pretty indifferent to them. They all did their job, but did they do their job better than what I'm used to? I use a lot of different brushes. My primary brushes are Sonia G brushes for the face, and then I use the old Wayne Goss brushes on my eyes mostly. But I have like Sephora collection brushes. I have some brushes from Mud that I all like. And I don't know, there's something about these that I'm not getting on with. I don't know. I think Reffer has like a really big sale happening either right now or coming up. And it's like their Black Friday extravaganza where things are really, really discounted. So if you do need a new brush and you're interested in Reffer, that's the way to do it. I'm not giving it my stamp of approval yet, but I'm trying. I'm trying them. Okay, anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. I know that this was kind of like a confused AFTERSASS, also kind of a confused trying new things. If you remember the name of that critical sass, the thumbnail said, I am confused. And even in this video, I'm confused, but I look fierce. And I like that. Anyway, if you happen to be new to my channel and you somehow stuck all the way through this while I was talking about gay men, capital G, capital M, gay men, but normally the vibe is a little more thought out. I just was like, I needed to, like, I was gonna film today and I kept coming up with 7 things that I was like, I could do that. And then I tried to make them all in one video, which is like, didn't work out really. Not that I didn't have fun with today's video. But normally I try to stay a little more solid in what I'm doing. Anyway, please subscribe if you enjoyed it. I'm on patreon.com if you'd like to support me over there. You're not required to. Being here, commenting, liking, that's really, really great. But over there I do additional content, and I also have my podcast with my friend Kackie of Kackie Reviews Beauty called Dumb Bitch Hour. You can go listen to that. My Patreon starts at $1. Everyone gets the same content no matter what level you are a patron of, so you can do it however you'd like to do it. I also have merch that's linked down below if you're into merch, and that's it. That's it for now. That's it for now. I'm ready to go. Anyway, remember to follow your hope, and you'll find me. I'll see you in a video very soon. Bye-bye. For hey.